The Conservative commentator Emma Webb had a massive row on Good Morning Britain with the leftist Narendra Kaur on the history of the British Empire, and it didn't go too well for Narendra. All this is coming up because of the coronation, the upcoming coronation, and Kohinoor. In case you don't know, Kohinoor is this big diamond. It literally is a Persian word. It means the mountain of light. And Kohinoor is currently part of the crown in Britain. And there was always a massive debate around the history of this diamond. Who does it belong to? Should we send it somewhere else? And of course, you're going to have people like Narendra Kaur, who is a bit of a leftist. His anti-British history and everything that we have done and all the achievements. This debate happened, and Emma Webb was very good at pointing out the obvious.
Narendra, they took it taken back.
They took it from
the end argument is that the Queen.
Let me finish my point, please.
Because this is an object that has passed through the hands of multiple peoples, multiple empires throughout history, with conquest and so on. You know, if we're talking about ownership, this is something that is highly contested. You could have claims from Afghanistan, Pakistan.
That's a benign argument. Firstly, that is the truth about the history of this diamond. Firstly, the other part of it, which is Daryanu, which is basically the Sea of Light, is we got the Kohinoor, which is part of the crown in the UK. You've got Daryanu, who is part of the crown in Iran, in the Persian Empire, until 1979, and is actually still in Iran. Let's not forget about the fact that, as Emma said, this whole diamond thing has been passed around, has been stolen in various conquests. There are technically various lands and dynasties that claim ownership. You've got Pakistan, Afghanistan, and the Iranians, and now Indians. Does not belong to the Indian government. It does not belong to the Indian government. I don't care if the snowflakes are going to get angry. It doesn't. You actually signed, their own leaders signed the contract, the agreement. They gave it to Victoria. Done. That, if you want to go talk about international law, but that's not how the world worked back then. You had conquests after conquest after conquest. This thing was passed around so many times. There is no ownership. This was the world where you take it, and it's yours. Whether you like it or not, that's the world we lived in at the time. You could argue that, it's so immoral. Yeah, but the world has changed.
Argument. It's a very weak argument because the Kohinoor represents a colonial past of pillaging, bloodshed of millions of Indians. And actually, it's hurtful to many Indians around the world and here in the UK that actually it was stolen. It represents colonization and bloodshed. Give it back to India. I don't see why an Indian child from India has to travel all the way to the UK to look at it and pay for it.
But I love that. Even Ed Balls was actually laughing. It was so ridiculous. The whole argument is ridiculous. Firstly, when it comes to the conquests and taking this whole thing from each other, the Indians also did it to Iranians, and the Persians did it to Indians. And technically, it kept being stolen all the time anyway. But the last transfer of ownership was more legal compared to the past. And I don't really care if a few people in the Indian government are going to have a meltdown, because the majority of them don't even care. It's mostly some left-wing British Indians in the UK who are having a meltdown just because they hate the British history. That's all it is. That's the truth about why this debate is even a thing. If they really cared about the well-being of India or Indian people, they would do something about the country of India. Look at the mess. Look at all the money, all the foreign aid we've been sending to the Indian state. And then they're progressing with the space program and this and that, and yet poverty is still there. They are still having their sweatshops. They're still causing trouble in the region. And you think, well, they're just our friendly allies. They are now going after the BBC officers. I'm not even in favor of the BBC, but they're literally banning documentaries because they don't want to see it. This is not a friendly democracy. It's authoritarian, and it's a bit of a snowflakey authoritarian as well. Anyway, that was my rant on the history of Kohinoor, which is literally a Persian word. It's not even Indian. Doesn't mean it's Persian, by the way. It doesn't work that way. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Mahyar, Tousi, and we are the media.